Okay. Well, I see that we are recording now for volunteers that have signed up for Gala in the Gardens to watch this orientation after May 22nd. But I want to again extend a heartfelt welcome to everyone who's able to join us live this evening. Um, we can't do this event without volunteers. It just simply wouldn't logistically be possible with the number of people that we have attending and to provide the very best guest experience that we can. So we're thrilled that you're joining us this evening. Our hope is that this presentation will be helpful in answering some of your questions and giving a variety of different logistical information. It is pretty casual in nature and not a formal presentation. So if you have a question, please feel free to put it in the Q&A um, section, or actually that's a webinar. Please feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, please feel free to unmute and just let us know what your question is. Our goal at the end of our time together is that you know a lot more about the Gala in the Gardens and you feel good about your volunteer experience. And please know that if a question pops up after today, that Jamie and I are accessible at the Arboretum, and so we can certainly answer questions all the way up to and including Gala Day. So a heartfelt welcome to everyone. Okay. I am going to pause recording for a bit because my slides did not. Okay, so what is the gala? So we know from our introductions that some of you have participated and volunteered with a gala in the gardens before, and some of you are new, so welcome. So what is the gala? The gala in the gardens is the Arboretum's annual signature fundraising event. And so the event itself is hosted by the Arboretum Foundation Board of Trustees. And the sole purpose of the event is to raise necessary or much needed resources for the Arboretum. And so we'll get into a little bit of specifics about what we're raising funds for this year. But our goal is, again, to raise necessary resources for the Arboretum to keep the lights on. I'm not sure if any of you know that on an annual basis that the Arboretum needs to raise approximately 93% of our operating budget. There's some folks out there that may think that we're funded by the state of Minnesota, but the funds that we receive through the University of Minnesota is targeted at research. And so we do need to raise a significant portion of our annual operating budget every year. So we are going to talk about a little bit more about the gala, an event overview, so you understand kind of the scope of what's happening during the evening. We'll go through a timeline relative to your role as a volunteer. We'll talk about a couple different volunteer specific roles and details to give you, again, a little bit more information. And then we will have a chance at the end of the presentation to ask questions. So if you, again, want to get those ready. All right. So what is the Gala in the Gardens? As I mentioned before, it's the Arboretum Signature Annual Fundraising Event hosted by our Board of Trustees. We raise operational support, which is invested right back into the Arboretum. We really do feel like the Gala in the Gardens is an opportunity to engage and deepen our connection with members, donors, and sponsors. We have people who are attending the Gala this year who have attended for every year for a long period of time. And we also have people who are attending for the very first time. We have new members who just arrived into our community. And then we have sponsors like Cargill who have been a part of our gala for several years. So it really is an interesting mix of people. The funds raised at the gala are divided into two buckets. One is that operational support that I already mentioned. And then the second is what we call our fund a need, or that is really a internal or kind of a development specific word for a special appeal for a specific need that typically is not budgeted for. So an example of past GALA funded needs that you might recognize around the Arboretum would be the tram that you that goes on tours and stuff like that. That was a GALA funded need. We have 3 plant mobiles that our education team uses that was made possible by a GALA funded need. The plant conservation received program support as a past funded need. So there's been a variety of different ways that the GALA funds have impacted the Arboretum. And I will say that it has to be fun, right? Because if it's not fun, then people won't want to come back. So we certainly hope that it's fun. In terms of event details, the event, hopefully you have Thursday, June 13th, and depending on when you're volunteering, you have that blocked off on your calendar. The gala is back on the main gardens and grounds after 2 years at the farm at the Arboretum, or farm at the Arb. So we are back. If you were involved in 2019 or 2018, this is a very similar footprint. And so we'll be in the annual, perennial, and sensory gardens. In the past, the gala has had an in-person and hybrid option in 2022, following 2 years of virtual and a virtual gala because of COVID. But this year, we again are in person only. Our theme this year, which we annually have or change every year, is art and nature. And we're I think I say that every year. I'm super excited about this theme. We just have so much to be proud of. We really are a leader in this space. I'm not sure if any of you know Wendy DePaulis, our curator of art and sculpture, but she's amazing. And so we'll have a chance to highlight art and nature at the Arboretum. In terms of giving you a scope of what the evening in terms of its broadest sense, we'll have check-in open and going into the receptions from 5 to 7:15. We will have some jazz in the perennial garden to add to the atmosphere. And then we'll transition to a program and dinner in the sensory garden parking lot from 7:30 to 9:15. So that gives you kind of a higher level view of how our evening will be spent. And Belinda Jensen is back as our MC, where we feel really lucky to have her with us again. I think this will be her 13th year MCing our event. So we're lucky to have a close friend like Belinda. And then auctioneer Andy Imholt. I believe this will be his 8th year with our gala. So it's nice to have partners who know the Arboretum well. And then the silent auction will open early the Monday of Gala Week. We like to open that early so people who are excited about the event can take a peek and think about what they would like to bid on or start bidding right away. So that gives you a few event details. In terms of tickets, we actually sold out. The earliest we have sold out in recent memory, according to some of our trustees who have served on the gala committee for quite some time, in April. And so we're managing a wait list, and as some things shift, we'll move some wait list folks in, but we're super excited to have a great crowd on June 13th. In terms of the silent auction and number of items, we have about 75 items. We really want to publicize or share, and please feel free as gala volunteers to share with other people that if you wanted to check out our silent auction, you do not need to be present to win. And it's a fun way that you can help support the Arboretum. Our live auction, which will take place during our program, will have 5 items, fabulous packages, including some travel, some fun culinary options, and then, of course, an adventure with Andrew, our executive director. There will be a raffle this year as well. We've had some really nice success in recent past with that. So it's $20 for one chance, and then people can purchase 6 tickets if they like for $100. And then we'll draw the lucky number during the program. And this year, our raffle prize is a VIP Gopher football experience, which includes on-field access and club seats and parking. It's a fun outing, and our game will be in October versus Maryland. So that will be fun, I think. We have a new game this year that we're excited about, and thanks in part to from a donation from Crooked Water Spirits, a partner that we've had for a few years. So we developed a beanbag toss game of chance into a flower pot to win a prize. And so you'll see there the different costs for those. So there's technically two games of chance this year. In terms of parking, we do not have valet this year. And just because of the farm at the Arb, and we only had 77 parking spots, really necessitated a valet to help facilitate parking. But this year, being back in the main gardens and grounds, we're happy that we don't need necessarily to have that expense. We spoke with the volunteer office and decided that just one specific location at the Arboretum that's only for volunteers, that only volunteer cars would park at, would we're going to try that out. So the Learning Center is your designated place to park for your shift. The attire, like Taste and Toast and previous galas, is black and white, and we do encourage you, because you will be moving, to wear comfortable shoes. And then last, if you could wear your volunteer name tag, it just helps let people know that you're there to help. In terms of what's new this year, you might know, if you're around the Arboretum, that we will be transitioning catering starting July 1st. And so we have a new catering partner after a request for proposal, and that is D'Amico. We are honoring Alfred Harrison and Ingrid Lenz Harrison. They are the donors of the Harrison Sculpture Garden. And as we lift up art and what they've helped make possible, we'll highlight them during our program. We're also excited about our first exhibit opening at a gala ever that we're aware of. And Annie Mariano is bringing her outdoor sculpture exhibit, Symbiosis in Nature. And so she will actually be present at the gala, and she will attend both receptions as well as the gala dinner, and also very generously donated a sculpture for us as part of our live auction. So we're very happy to have that art focus and, unique opportunity to meet an artist at the gala. Also at the gala, we're going to announce a new audio tour of the Harrison Sculpture Garden. So shh, that's a secret. But folks will hear a little bit more about that, and then have access to that tour. And then we'll be sharing that more broadly with the public afterwards. And then we are starting or piloting the patron reception being the same day as the gala. We have held a patron reception, which is for sponsors of the event, as well as trustees and folks who wanted to participate at the patron level. And we've held that gathering before, either in May or early June in the past. And this year we're piloting holding it right before the gala as a way to align and streamline and simplify things. So we'll see how that goes. So those are some things that are new this year. In terms of our funded need, which again is kind of an inside baseball term that just means a special project or a special appeal. This year for 2024, we will focus on engaging communities through art. And so I'm not sure if you knew that we were one of the first arboretums to have a dedicated art curator or a curator of art and sculpture on staff. And since Wendy DePaulis joined us 9 years ago, different botanical gardens across the country have followed suit and really understood that this is a unique way to deepen and strengthen the guest experience and broaden the appeal of a botanical garden. So we feel like we're uniquely positioned to be a leader in this space. And I really think with the amazing work that Wendy's doing, we certainly are doing that. So we're excited to have this focus for this year. In terms of what the funded need dollars will support, our goal is $130,000 for the funded need this year. And that's the support will specifically help fund two new exhibitions that explore the unique intersections of art and nature. And we really are looking to appeal to new audiences and engage with new voices and new artists throughout this process. And then also the Fund a Need will support the continuation of the Dakota Sacred Hoop Walk, which you can see is an image from that experience is on the screen there. So hopefully you've had a chance to participate or to engage in the Dakota Sacred Hoop Walk, the augmented reality experience. And so if you haven't, I highly recommend it. In terms of the layout or what is happening where, and I apologize, we tried to blow up this slide as much as we could on this slide, but please know that we are going to share this map and other maps with you via email before the gala. So you will have a chance to receive via email again this map and other smaller sections of the event so that you can see what is happening and where. But what I guess I just wanted to point out a brief flow of the evening in terms of the guest experience. We'll have guests come off of Highway 5, of course, like any visitor would, and then park in our normal parking bays. They'll come into the Oswald Visitor Center where they will check in. And then they'll head from the Dahlberg Terrace over behind the Snyder Building into the Morgan Terrace. And at this point, if they're here for our patron reception, then they will access the patron reception in the tea room terrace, and the Morgan Terrace. So again, that is starting earlier, and you'll see kind of the flow of the timeline in more detail in a future slide. So after that patron reception, then, or if you just came for the general reception, you would check in the Oswald Visitor Center, come to the Morgan Terrace and kind of behind the Snyder Building here. And then that is where you can grab a refreshment. You can meet Annie Mariano. So she will be here with her in this area with her sculpture. And you can ask her questions if you like. You can also purchase a raffle ticket in this space. So then as people progress into the event here, they will come upon a photo station. Actually, should have put this on the new slide. We have had photographers, which we will continue to have here, but we will actually have a photo station with a backdrop that people can take a fun photo of themselves and then receive that almost instantaneously via to their I think it's their cell phone or email. So that's a new feature that we're excited about. And then they'll come into the perennial garden here. And then this is where the silent auction will take place with the musicians up here. And then there's another bar as well. So on this map too, this is where we had called it originally a ring toss, but that second game of chance that we talked about, the beanbag toss. Right now, we're thinking here, but that's not 100%. We're considering another location, so we'll make sure volunteers know have the final map. But that's the only thing that would change in terms of layout. And then the guests will finally walk down after the reception. Down here, there's a hosted bar right here, but then the gala tent will be right here, and that's where the program and dinner will take place. So that just gives you kind of a high-level view of what is happening where. In terms of a more specific timeline on Thursday, June 13th, or Gala Day, we have setup volunteers coming from 9 a.m. to 3:45. And those folks will be doing a wide variety of things, including helping set up the auction, perhaps, or some help with that. They may help with signage. There's a variety of different things those setup volunteers will be doing. And then at 3:45, our first wave of volunteers arrive in those areas that you see listed there: registration, greeters, silent auction, game of chance, and the photo station. We kind of the main hub where we want all volunteers to check in is in the cafe and eatery. And we're actually really excited to have this space because it's much larger than check-in at the Bee Center where we were last year, and we have a lot of more space to spread out. So dinner for volunteers will also be provided by D'Amico. So volunteers will be able to enjoy a dinner and then check in with Kim and Claudia and then receive additional instruction in the cafe. At 5 o'clock, that's when our the official start time of the patron reception. And then at 5:45 and 6 o'clock, we'll have a second wave of volunteers arrive there. And so you can see the areas that they're volunteering in. And then dinner and program. We may ask, I shouldn't skip over transition to tent. It is a bit like herding cats to get people to move from that lovely annual and perennial garden space to the sensory garden so that we can start our program on time. So we may ask for some help. We have some different strategies that we've discussed, but we may ask for some volunteers for help with that. And then again, the program in earnest starts at 7:30, where Belinda will welcome guests. We'll have a dinner break. And then after a dinner break, we'll launch into our program. So you'll see there that at 7:30 and 8 p.m., we have those early volunteer shifts ending. And then at 9:15, we have our event end. That's our target date. And then checkout will begin. So checkout is only for folks who have purchased or were winners in the silent auction that closes earlier that evening. So they would then go to the Oswald Visitor Center and pick up their auction items there. And then we'll start cleaning up the tent and breaking things down. And then 10:15 and 10:30 is the end of those respective shifts. So that's kind of a little bit more detail relative to timeline. But again, hopefully when you signed up in My Impact for your certain role, it has your specific start and end time there. So.
Hey, Kim, quick question, just confirming, to check in that day, we go into the cafeteria, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yep.
just confirming.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Thank you, Julie. Yep. So Kim Carrier and Claudia will be there with a list of all of the volunteers for the event. And so they will check everyone in and you'll get additional instructions at that point. If there's anyone on here, I'm not sure that there is, that's volunteering for event setup, we're going to have you meet in the Snyder building lobby during the day. But like we just mentioned, all evening volunteers check in with Kim and Claudia in even though it's called the eatery, I still call it the cafe. And actually, registration volunteers, we just had a meeting this afternoon. And I would say Angelica Fernholtz and Kelly, oh gosh, I'm totally blanking on her name. She is our gift administration supervisor. They will be reaching out if we have any registration volunteers on this training about additional details. Check-in and registration is a really specific area. And so we have some resources and a training video, and there'll be specific instructions if you're volunteering in that area. In terms of greeters and silent auction helpers, again, you'll start in the cafe, and then we do have some different needs for greeters in addition to welcoming people and just being there as a helpful hand and to communicate and to encourage guests to move into the event. We have a variety of different ways that we'll be utilizing greeters. And then, of course, silent auction helpers will be there just to help make sure everything is standing up straight, nothing blew over. Of course, we're going to have beautiful weather, I hope. But they're there to help and then break down the auction. Live auction folks will be helping the auctioneer, helping identify guests who are bidding on live auction items, as well as those who want to make a fund-to-need gift. And so there'll be additional training that's provided by our auctioneer, Andy M. Holt, for those live auction spotters. And then our silent auction folks will help in the perennial garden, and then they will help during the auction, and then they will, after folks move into the gala tent for dinner in the program, they will help move items and prepare for checkout in the Oswald Visitor Center. And then, of course, our game of chance. So we have two of those, and I think Ann Cathcart, and there's a couple other volunteers I think that may have helped last year that will be a part of that. And if you are an extrovert or like talking with people, that's a good job too. So that gives you some additional details there.
Kim, I'm just going to pop in really quick and just make a quick note, and you never will even need to know this, but in case there's inclement weather, we do move everything inside. And it might be a hybrid model where the reception is inside, but we still have dining in the tent. Or it's possible that we have to do everything inside. So we will give you further instructions if for some reason we have to move everything inside. And obviously that kind of decision wouldn't be made until really, really close to the start of the gala.
Thanks, Jamie. That's a really good point that we do have a rain plan in terms of transitioning the event inside, and hopefully um, we won't have to worry about that because we'll have nice weather. But that's one thing we can't control, so we'll be prepared for all contingencies. So, in terms of gala impact, we were presenting some information to staff a couple years ago, and I had the opportunity to kind of gather some numbers. And I just thought it was neat to kind of see the total impact of the gala that it's had. Both this includes operational support as well as that fund a need or special project funds that the Gala in the Gardens has raised over $2 million in just the last 7 years. So your help, your volunteer support, and what we're able to accomplish really does make a difference. And it's a team effort. Again, everyone has a role to play. And you might think, oh, I'm just one person doing this kind of thing. But truly, for the guests to have a wonderful experience at our event, there's certainly lots of other events or wonderful nonprofits that have events in the Twin Cities. There's no shortage of events. And we really want to try to differentiate the experience that guests have here at the Arboretum. And you help make that possible. And now it's time for questions. I tried to move kind of slowly through that, but hopefully that information was helpful. Is there anybody who has any questions that they would like to ask? I don't see anything in the chat yet.
Oh, I have
Okay.
a question, Kim.
Yeah.
So the process of moving the silent auction items back into the Oswald,
Yes.
will that be shared as we get closer to the event? How that process will work?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And we will have carts, there will be boxes, there will be a whole you'll have also a staff team lead that will be there to kind of guide the process. You'll bring it all back to the Oswald Visitor Center into the McMillan Auditorium, and then you guys will set up to facilitate checkout at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good question. There was a question in the chat that asked about just a reminder about where to park again, and that is the Learning Center parking lot. So you'll have to let us know how that works afterwards. We know that that's a little bit of a walk. And so if people have any kind of mobility or accessibility needs, we're happy to come and grab volunteers with a golf cart. We just ask that you let us know ahead of the event if you need some additional support, and we can certainly come and pick you up in a golf cart. We will have multiple development staff who are kind of roaming or roving in golf carts to take people from the parking area to the Oswald Visitor Center. And then will there be a place we can leave our purses? Marcia, that is a great question. You know, in the past we had them in a locked room. And I am going to say I'm going to connect with Kim and Claudia and probably circle back with you. My understanding is that they are going to be there throughout the evening, but I don't believe they can stay until that 10:15, 10:30 timeframe. So I'm going to confirm where your purses and personal effects, then you don't have to worry about carrying anything. I would just encourage you though, if you can carry something small, like a smaller purse to the event, that would be fantastic. But we'll make sure we'll figure out a room that we can open and that will be locked for folks to put their purses. We do have two rooms that are close to us that I would think about, but they're both being utilized for weddings. But other than that, we have the entire arboretum for the gala in the gardens. So thanks for that question. We'll get back to you. Are there any other questions that people can think of? Okay. Well, as the event draws closer, and you're thinking about your role or thinking about what your day looks like and questions may arise, please let us know. And Kim and Claudia will be making this recording available to all volunteers as well as our contact information. So we'll make sure you receive that by email. So if there's not any questions, do you have any parting thoughts, Jamie, that you wanted to share with the group?
Just a lot of gratitude for your willingness to help out. As Kim said, it takes an entire village to make this work. So thank you for your willingness to help out the Arboretum. It is much, much appreciated. And also just wanted to let you know that I believe both of our emails are listed in the My Impact volunteer descriptions. So if you have questions, reach out. We're happy to answer any questions you have. And then we will also be in touch with you more as we get closer to the event.
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, and depending on what your volunteer role is, you know, like Jamie referenced, we'll be sharing some additional details depending on what your specific role is. So, all right. Well, I'm very happy to say that I can give you 20 minutes back on this beautiful afternoon and early evening to enjoy. Is there any Timberwolves basketball fans out there? Go Wolves. That game starts at 7. So again, thank you very much for not only volunteering at the Arboretum, but helping make sure that this event I don't know. It's a special event in my eyes, but I'm a little bit biased. But again, we've heard from guests that it's a set apart. It's different than other events that people attend in the Twin Cities, and you help make that happen. So thank you very much for that, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Talk to
Thank
you later.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.